Welcome to the Life in Flow podcast.
The three of us, Yulia, Polina, and Irina, are exploring what life in flow and flow in life is.
Join us as we experiment, test our diverse hypotheses, and have fun in the process.
Will we find an answer?
This isn't just an intellectual discussion. We're co-creating a shared field beyond words. We're attuning to what emerges moment by moment so that the conversation itself becomes a group flow experience.
And we invite you to become an active participant in this experiment. There will be pauses and moments of silence. We leave them on purpose because this is where magic happens.
Go beyond the intellectual information. Listen with your whole body and notice how your somatic experience shifts in the process. Share with us what reveals itself in the space where mind, body, and energy flow together.
Welcome to the new episode of Life and Flow podcast. Here we are again, Yulia, Polina, and I, Irina, will be steering the flow today. And the question that we will be discussing is there a free will? To be honest, since the beginning of our project, I have been avoiding this question because honestly, to me, it feels like a rabbit hole. And yet, it emerged in one of our previous discussions, and now nothing can be done. We can't avoid it, but talk about it. So let me remind you a little bit of what was happening in the previous episodes of the series. So in several episodes back, we were discussing the question of how we're making decisions, because I was interested in how we can combine the functionality and necessity of the no with the principle of yes and that we have identified as one of the main principles that should rule our utopia. And we haven't found the answer to the main question that I wanted to answer yet, because on our way, while we were discussing how we are making decisions, while we were exploring it, some doubt was voiced out regarding whether we're making decisions at all. And so now we need to discuss it. Are we making decisions? Does anything depend on us? Or everything is predetermined? And what are the frameworks that help us to decide or not to decide? And to find our position in life in regards with our free will or the lack of it. So as usual, we will start with a game, a little warm-up. And I want us to go back to our playful exploration of metaphors.
There is a tiny comment I wanted to make before we continue, and that is that the episode that you were referring to, the name is how do we converge generatively, in case someone wants to look it up.
Yes, thank you very much. That is true. That is the name of the episode. I actually wanted to do the to talk about the backlog of all the previous series before that episode, because there is like sort of the whole series of the episodes that flow one from the other. But okay, let's let's refer our listeners to the episode about the how do we converge generatively. So, the game, the metaphors. And let's go right into the matter of the question. I want us to express the metaphors that come to our mind regarding what it feels like to have a free will. So we will go, I guess I will start, then Yulia will follow, and Polina will be the third one. We will do 2 or maybe 3 rounds, and the rule is simple. You just need to complete the phrase, having a free will is like, and whatever comes to your mind, whatever metaphors, comparisons, whatever your imaginations brings to you. Okay. I did not prepare. I don't have anything ready, so let's connect together to our field, to the realm of imagination where everything is possible. And having a free will is like knowing how to shoot an arrow and hit the target.
Having a free will is like a single leaf that is hanging somewhere in the air, not even on a branch of a tree, just suspended in the air.
Having free will is like a very smart rat learning to eat and drink from a banana tree flower while all its friends are scavenging the garbage cans.
Having a free will is like being a magician that creates his or her own reality.
Having a free will is like a wave that is far away from the ocean.
Having free will is deciding which worm you're going to go for as you fly over them.
Let's do the third round. Like to squeeze our creative juices. Having a free will is like having a hammer with which you can break a door in the wall of the universe.
Having a free will is like your one wing can fly, but the rest of the body cannot.
Having free will is like being a bird and losing your leg and still being the bully on the beach.
Okay, thank you. We can see that some patterns of the future conversation are emerging already, which is great, but we're not done yet. Now let's turn around and explore the other side. So we do at the other 3 rounds, now exploring the metaphors for what it is like not having a free will. So the rules are the same. Not having a free will is like, and whatever image comes to our mind. So the order is the same too. So let's continue. Not having a free will is like making a jump into the vast universe and trusting that it will support you.
Not having a free will, not having free will is a hand becoming a hand, although it might have liked to become a head.
Not having free will is inheriting all of your family's patterns and the entire lineage worth of stuff.
Not having free will is like being a passenger on a seat on a train that goes somewhere, and all you can do is just sit and look into the window, observe the other passengers, and go where the train takes you.
Not having free will is like a leaf that through the spring and the summer gets to enjoy the energy provided by the tree and the schedule, on the schedule decided by the seasons and the climate.
Not having free will is someone else deciding about how everything else is treated, and you just have to put up with it.
Not having free will is like being a part of the complex mechanism of like consisting of many different parts and details and other mechanisms, and they all working together, and you even have no idea what is the purpose of the goal of the whole system. All you can do is just do your part and walk together with the other details around you that you're connected to. Because otherwise, if you don't do your part, everything will break.
Not having free will means you are being breathed at all times, means your heart is heart beaten, means your blood getting circulated, means your eyes being closed when it's time to rest.
Not having free will is being born.
Wow, thank you very much. I think this game sets an interesting tone for our discussion. I can see already the threads of what can be voiced out today. And I don't have many questions for us to discuss, only a few ones, but they're fundamental. So let's go straight into the core of the matter. This whole question of the free will emerged because in our previous conversation, in that episode that I mentioned about the how to converge generatively, we finished with the reflection that whether we make decisions or not depends on the frameworks we use in order to describe the world and ourselves in the world. So it all depends on the framework. So let's talk about our frameworks. So and this is the question I want you to answer. So what frameworks regarding free will or the lack of it you contemplate in your worldview, and how these frameworks impact your decision making and generally like your being in the world and how you're treating yourself and life itself. Because like we can build multiple hypotheses about how it all works. And we can say that, it's all just an illusion, it's a hallucination of a bacteria in a poo of a cosmic whale that floats somewhere in the cosmos. And so nothing exists anyway. But like if I'm a part of this hallucination, so how does thinking that it's just a hallucination help me in my being within this hallucination? It might help. I don't know. Maybe it helps me to take everything easier and not to take my problems too seriously because, well, it's all a hallucination anyway. But if it doesn't change the way how I treat myself and the world, how I act, how I make decisions, then okay, it's just an interesting hypothesis, but it doesn't change anything. That is why I'm asking you not just to share what frameworks you contemplate, but how they impact your being in this life.
I want to start by saying that how I contemplate it is by making a distinction, and that distinction is free will versus agency.
Okay.
And so how I look at free will is through the feature that I consider foundational to all life, and that feature is us being porous. And we touched on this in one of the early episodes, but basically
there's hardly anything in this world which we come into contact with that doesn't touch us in one way or another. And like when I wake up, the type of weather impacts my mood. The type of, dream that I saw majorly can impact my state and the thoughts that are there. And dreams are, of course, well, in my worldview, are, like the big subconscious that can come from a lot of sources, including a collective or universal. And then I sit on the chair, and the chair actually has already shaped me and my posture and my butt and my back. And as I sit on the chair, no one is sitting next to me because it's not the bench, let's say, or it's not the floor. So I feel that I'm kind of alone or separate, or I'm an individual. And then I'm far from the floor, so it's as if I'm above. And then I'm watching the screen, or I read news, and something clicks and takes me on a journey that I myself am not aware of. And so this is how, well, and then of course I go to the forest and I hug a tree, and I receive some kind of message, whether in words or in emotion. And that is how I am. That is how I see myself, constantly being co-created by so many beings, things, creatures. But at the same time, it doesn't mean that I don't have agency, meaning that I cannot somehow direct or also shape my experience. Because if I'm aware what I'm co-creating with, then I can choose. Like, for example, I know that me co-creating with screens or with the phone, like, is a disaster for me. I know that me co-creating with some people is a disaster. I know what makes me like co-create in the way that I really enjoy. And so the agency is navigating those experiences and creating like spaces for myself, and co-creating opportunities where, I move somehow, on a path that feels like, right, that feels like, in the big scheme of things, it's the path that is mine.
So in this distinction in your terminology, understand that having free will be disregarding all this interconnectedness.
Yeah. It's
Okay.
like a leaf without a tree being suspended in the air and not holding on to anything. Is, yeah, maybe in the space even.
Oh, okay.
Wait, can you clarify that one more time? I got lost for a second. Having free will is like a leaf that's not connected to a tree, or the opposite? How is that free will?
Because it, for what I understand from Yulia explorations, in her view, the free will gets you separated from the co-creation of the whole life system.
But in this analogy or in this metaphor, the leaf had free will to disconnect from the branch?
The leaf is nowhere. It's like, when I imagine a leaf that is suspended in cosmos somehow, I don't even know how it got there. Like, it's not, it's just basically in some vacuum where how was it created even? That is the image that I see.
Okay. But where is the inflection point of free will in because that leaf is on a trajectory from a specific sequence of events. So where is the free will in this trajectory? Because most
There is
likely
no free will, and so there is no free will in, you know, and that is what that image is for me. That the will, the leaf has no connection to anything, and it's basically it is, yeah, suspended in vacuum or in space.
so the moments when we're no longer connected to whatever system we're part of, those are the moments of free will.
To me, it's not possible. So
Yeah,
What's not
that's why
possible?
the picture is something like, you know, that doesn't make any
Oh,
sense.
you're
in,
trying to show that the opposite, like that actually the free will doesn't exist. Because
exactly. This is
it
what
would,
she's saying.
for you, it would be like a leaf suspended. I
Yeah.
see. Okay.
So like in this interconnectedness, any decision, any decision you make, any action you take is always influenced by the rest of the system. So it's you have the agency, but it's in none of the points, none of the moments, it's just solely your decision. It's the emergence of all the factors
Yeah. Yep.
interconnected within the life system.
Oh, I'm having a hard time with these metaphors today. But thank you. Yes, that makes sense now.
And so, Yulia, how does it affect your decision making? This worldview, this framework.
I know that there are constraints always in my decisions. I don't have an illusion that I just can like make a decision that really I can invent in my head. And we also discussed at some point that I'm looking for signs or signals. The thing that I have fallen in love recently is dream work as a way of orientation. And it is, well, I mean, like the vastness of what is happening in the unconscious and how it, in so many unseen ways, is like working on us, is to me like incredible after that vision quest that I went on. And I realized that being like in tune a little bit through my dreams of what is happening there is also like, you know, it gives me some heads up or some like or some intelligence. Like, what is it really that's happening? Like, am I liking this or not? Or, you know, am I convincing with my mental power myself and being really good at it that this is the way that I should go? Or is it like what kind of conflicts are happening and things like that? So basically, I'm looking for intelligence, and I'm looking for partners that, you know, can help me make those decisions.
And for what we know about you and from what I hear, I understand that intelligence, that the partners, they may come from like any inanimate world and the spiritual world, even like the perception beyond the normal things that we see.
I want to say this quote: "The world is not a collection of objects, but a communion of subjects." So to me, the world is animate.
I love it. And it is the quote of by whom?
I think it's Wendell Berry. He's like a writer and philosopher, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
Communion of subjects?
Yeah.
Can you tell me what that means for you?
Again, it's speaking to the fact that everything we come together with or in contact with, they or it, they have agency in that they co-shape us. Communion means
Everything is alive.
Communion means like, you know, coming together and co-shaping each other to a certain degree.
But what about the subjects part?
Subject speaks to the agency.
How?
Well, object is something that we act on, and subject is something that has its own agency.
Okay. I mean, that's not necessarily true, I feel, but okay.
Why do you feel that? What is it that you feel about
a subject may or may not have agency? Like it depends how you're using that word and what's behind it. Can you paint me a picture? Like, can you give me a sentence of how you're using subject that has agency? Like, I'm just trying to connect to what you mean.
Yeah, like I'm like this computer that I'm using now.
Yeah.
I can use it as an object, as if I am a user and I'm using it. And at the same time, it's using me all the time and it's changing me all the time. I mean, it's like taking me on journeys. It, you know, keeps me in a certain shape. It keeps me in a certain state of mind. So that is, I treat, I think I treat him as a subject. And when we come into communion, I recognize his agency and the fact that I'm being co-created and co-shaped by him.
From that perspective, I can see that now. Thank you for doing that for me, for providing that anchor point so I can tune in. Okay, cool. Okay.
So, Polina, what are your frameworks?
Oh my gosh. Can I be honest? Like, I am feeling so trippy and also transy, but also like mentally, I'm so far away from how much brain power is required to talk about frameworks because I'm just recovering, as the two of you know, from a very long, arduous sickness. And I have not had to use my brain for a long time, and it's been such a wonderful break. Oh my God, it was just beautiful. And frameworks.
That's
But
well, let me remind you.
frameworks.
Let me remind you that you brought this word into the table. So we can use any other word that feels more generative for you at this moment.
I brought frameworks in
Yes.
today.
Not
No
today.
way.
Not
today.
today. Not
Okay,
today in
not
our
today.
previous conversation.
Oh, I see. You're picking up from something I said in the past.
Exactly.
But that past Polina doesn't exist no more. Okay.
Okay, so
Yeah.
like how do you describe the world in regarding to the existence or inexistence of free will? Does free will exist for you? What does it mean?
I think it's a very slippery word and concept. I think I can make an argument for both sides and also for neither. I think it's one of those things. Did the chicken or the egg come first? It's literally a pointless discussion. It's in the realm of philosophy. It cannot be proved. There is absolutely it's a pointless question.
So like when you
We're
make
done then.
decisions,
We're done.
no, we're not done. We're not done because are you making decisions in your life? How do you answer this question
The
to
best
yourself?
decisions I've made have been not decisions, but like, oh, there's energy for this, and oh, I can imagine myself moving towards this energy, so I will move towards this. Is that a decision? I mean, not if we look at the normal function of the world and what that word means.
Okay, but
I have agency
somehow
sometimes to move my body or my mind towards a specific thing. Now, is that free will? I don't know, because where does freaking energy come from? Where does my motivation come from? How does it all come together for this movement to even happen? I don't know. Apparently, computers can have agency and they're shaping us, and I can totally see that point. But, like, what?
so like when your body moves, when you have this energy and you let your energy express itself through the movement of your body.
Yeah.
Is it you who moves your body or is it something else or someone else? Does anything depend on you in this context?
Yeah, I mean, I guess if I feel like taking movement or well, I don't know, because then we could also take this question back to there are different parts in all of us from the IFS perspective. So some parts of us are really us and some parts of us may not be really us. So if the movement happens from one of the parts that's not really us, can you say that that was my agency and I made the decision to do this, even though it wasn't really me or even one of my parts? It was like this other part that doesn't even belong to me.
Okay.
I want to feel like we have some freaking say and that we have some agency.
You
But I'm
want to
not
feel
sure
like it, but you're not sure that you feel it.
but I'm really not sure. Well, because if you break it down, it doesn't make any sense. Like, which ice cream will I choose really depends on how inflamed my body is, how much access I have to my taste buds. Is it sunny outside? Has someone just broken my heart? So I'm gonna go for the chocolate. But if I'm really happy because nothing shitty happened today, I might go for the vanilla. Is that me making that decision or this operating system that I am occupying? I don't know. Also, what's available in the environment? Is there an ice cream shop that actually cares about your health and they've actually gone out of their way to make a healthy ice cream?
So how does it change your action?
Well, if there is an ice cream shop that's gone out of their way to do so, that creates a choice point for me, a choice point of having ice cream. But if there isn't a vendor like that in the area, I'm not going to have ice cream. But is that my choice or the vendor's choice of not providing healthy ice cream?
Well, okay, let's explore this situation. If there is a vendor that provides you a healthy choice of ice cream,
then I feel like I have no choice. I must have it.
So like you have no choice in this case.
I feel like I have no choice because there's ice cream that's actually healthy. What?
So you need to go to get this ice cream.
Of course.
Okay. So those best decisions you mentioned that you describe as no decision, but just following some energetic pull. Did it feel like I have no choice? I just must have this ice cream?
Well, it's not just the energetic pull. It's also what is this system that I'm in signaling to me internally, right? And what is like the bacteria in my gut is signaling to my brain, let's go get ice cream. Is that my choice? If the bacteria in my brain, in my gut, that has nothing to do with who I am, is signaling to my brain, because it knows how to do that I must go get ice cream.
I totally get this example that I totally must go ice cream. I can relate. But now I can imagine that having or not having ice cream is not one of those best decisions you have made, you referred to previously. Or yes, I don't know. Maybe one of the best decisions of your world was letting you having the healthy ice cream.
Okay, let's talk about something more concrete. As you know, my dad passed away recently, and my body decided to get very sick. Decided because I have no idea why this happened, right? I didn't make a decision about being sick. And then there was the decision needed to be made about whether I fly to New York for the funeral, right? This was a very complicated decision because A, there was no energy available. There was no pull. I didn't feel it. Now, did I feel or not feel the pull because the energy was there or because I was so sick that I couldn't actually receive the signal? I don't know. Also, I was sick. How can you fly for that many hours, right? As you're sick. So that's not my decision. Again, that's like my system deciding for me whether or not I'm physically healthy enough to travel. Then there were also other factors like family members that I'm having a hard time with right now, that I didn't want to ruin their experience of the funeral by just physically being present, nor did I want them to ruin my experience and my journey with the grief by also me being physically present. But at the same time, I was aware that me not being there will also create an issue anyway, because I'm part of the system of this unit. And so me being not there still will create a question mark, an empty space. So at the end of the day, then there are lots of other factors to be considered, right, in all of this. But at the end of the day, I couldn't even make the decision because I was sick and because I didn't feel the pull of the energy. So I ended up not going, but I didn't feel like I actually have agency at this inflection point and that I was actually making decision. It was more like I wasn't making any decision.
Okay. I can relate to this example too, but let's follow the same storyline. So you got sick. There was nothing you can do about it. That was the decision of your body, of gods, of higher forces, of your bacteria, whatever. Okay. But then you got better.
Yes. And I actually got better right before I would have flown to New York. It seemed like I was getting better. It seemed like it.
Okay.
But as we know, I actually went straight back down to the worst sickness on the day of the funeral. So if I would have flown, I would have been screwed because I literally, like, I probably would have gotten even more sick because of the flying. But I couldn't have known this ahead of time.
So were you decided? Were you decided on?
Right. I was decided on. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't decide. I was decided on. Mm-hmm. Also, as I was feeling better, the night before, I started frantically searching for flights because I was like, I think I'm getting better. Frantically searching for flights. And guess what? No flights available. So who's making the decision? Who has agency in this?
So do you contemplate in your worldview that actually the whole system was making the decision for you and giving you the signs that you shouldn't go? So actually made it impossible for you to go because you started, like, you felt better, you started contemplating the possibility of going.
Yep.
And so this option was closed.
It was closed. It was not available.
Okay. But still, let's continue the storyline. So then you got better.
Yeah.
And when you got better, you finally wrote to us and you said, girls, I'm better. You're like, I'm going to do some work on our project.
Mm-hmm.
You could have said, you know what? I still feel like I want to relax. You could have said, no, I don't have a choice of relaxing. I have to because I have obligations. You could have filled the pool, you know what? You're like, I feel like I want to do something that, like, I have this energetic pull towards. What was the case? Did you make any decision there?
No.
Or it was decided for you again?
I felt better. I started feeling like I had actually access and energy and motivation. And then the parts of me that are very responsible and are very responsible about actual obligations and responsibilities, especially when it comes to, if other people are relying on me, like, it's not even a question. It's not a decision point. It's, of course, I'm going to come back as soon as I actually have, like, some energy and my mind is starting to work. And so I don't see that as a decision point. We already decided this a year ago when we started this. So this is not ever really a decision point. This is just like going with the flow of what we're doing.
So it's like the getting married and there is no the way out of it. There's no possibility of a divorce.
What a good example, huh?
Not at all. I mean, if I still want to be married, which in this case I do, I still want to be married to this project. I love this project. I it makes me happy. So no, but that is still not a decision point because nothing has shifted. There's no variables that have shifted other than I was just sick and now I'm feeling better.
Can I bring something in?
Yes, please.
So if we go kind of like up and take a bird's eye view on the lives. So what has been really present for me for the last year or so is, like soul, or, what the soul is and what the soul wants. And in this framework and model that I am relying on, and it is by Bill Plotkin and Animus Valley Institute, it's this kind of like specific place in the web of life that, like no one else, you uniquely are capable to support. So there's something like some kind of well, let's say gift, maybe something unique that you are here to give to this world. And basically there is, or in the past there used to be like a process of finding out what it is, but actually people knew that you're not to play with your soul, but by not responding to its calls, because your life will be miserable, the life of others will be miserable, because there is this like misfit, but also because you are always, like the whole life, you are going against the grain of life itself, of your life itself. So it appears that you are making decisions, but are you? Because the decision had been made for you, like what kind of soul you are inhabiting, right? That according to Bill, it's the soul is something that kind of like keeps its skill set or whatever. So it's not the ego and the self that you get, but just the soul with its place, and you like keep working on it. And from this perspective, what kind of like free will? It's not really free will. It's you being, like given, which is very generous, that everyone is given this unique place in the web of life that is, he or she is capable to support. And then everything that is happening around that can take a form of, people making decisions to do this and to choose this as purpose and to choose that as purpose, but actually their purpose has been chosen. And again, like we do have agency in how we navigate this, but
I can accept the distinction between the free will and agency. Let's say I don't mind separating these terms. I don't have. Do I have a special emotional attachment to the concept of free will? Well, maybe actually I do. Okay, let me share my frameworks. I do have frameworks. Because on one hand, I can totally relate to everything that you have expressed and how you described things. But in my worldview, I actually have two frameworks that describe the existence of free will differently, and actually it might seem they describe it in a totally opposite ways. But I have found the way to reconcile them. And the first framework is the framework of human design that I came across about 10 years ago, and it was really a turning point in my life that split the life and before and after. And one of the key points of the human design system is exactly that there is no free will, that nothing depends on us. It might seem to us that we might make decisions but in fact, it's just like we are part of the life system of life mechanism. It's all like its view is very mechanistic, and so we're just the parts in the system that is the wheels that are turning around, and all we can do is just take a seat and observe and accept that we can't do anything. And coming across with this teaching at a certain point was really very important for me, because at that period of my life, I think I was looking for the ways of learning how to trust life. I think we talked about this, concept of trust in life, and just learning how to release control and let myself just go with the flow of life. Because at that point, really trying to exercise my free will, that at that moment was taking form of, okay, like I'm setting up the goal and I'm taking actions and making plans and executing on the plans to achieve my goals. And all this goal achieving was really very energy draining, and it did feel like I'm going against the whole world. But at the same time, because this is how we are taught to be in the world, that like either you set the goals and you go towards the goals and you achieve it, or if you don't, then you are not worth anything. So, and one of the key principles that human design teaches is that how you learn to pay attention to different signals in your body to learn to discern where actually the whole system you're a part of is taking you. Like, what is the most natural? Where is this energetic pool that Polina talks about? And it's all about, it is supposed to be, you are supposed to learn it from your body. It gets expressed, life gets expressed its will through your body. And so you just learn to trust it and to trust the signals and act upon them. And I actually mentioned in one of our episodes previously this story. So I started with enthusiasm and really, I felt very excited about trying this new way of being in the world. I'm not making a decision. I'm just listening to my body, what decisions it makes. Really, what are the real decisions? What path corresponds to me in all this global system? And so what happened is one day I come across following this web of different signals that I receive from my body. I come across a magical school. Magical means that teaches magic, not the illusionist work, but the
magical school.
Magic, like how you affect the world and your reality with non-linear methods. And I got very clear system of a signal from my body that I need to go there. So I started taking the courses. I started studying there, and everything what was talked about at that school was about that we need to train the free will. We need to train the free will. our free will. So it's all about our will and how we impose it on our reality. So like, and I was like, I don't understand it. But I believe in human design. I follow this teaching. I follow the signals of my body. Human design says that there is no free will. And I follow the system, I follow the signals, and it brings me to this. And you're like, what is going on? So what I realized then is that there are different free wills. There is the illusion of free will that we exercise in majority of part of our lives and the majority of people. Well, let's say it's like the majority of people don't have any free will because they act on just following their automatisms. Everything is set up, like the life is the way it is, like nothing can be done. I just follow the drill. But then, like, some people start realizing, no, you know what? There is a goal setting and goal achieving. And people on Instagram show that, like, if you do X, Y, Z, then you can achieve this goal. And actually, many people start following these advices and they discover that, you know what? It's true. If I impose the discipline, self-discipline on myself, if I start doing deliberately certain things, it turns out that I can get out of what I thought was predetermined from me, and I can start, like proposing my better goals and achieving them, etc. The thing is that it is true that in order to be able to do that, we need to get disconnected from the rest of the world. So like, in order to learn to train the illusion of free will, that there is something that depends on me, something that I can change in my life, we need to disconnect from many signals that would indicate that, like, this is actually not your goal, this is not your part, that is not your true self, as Polina from it. This is the program that you inherited from your family, from your parents, from the society, etc. But it's an unavoidable phase, because this is how this ego interface that allows us to connect, to interact with the world, and to express our individuality, this is how it gets framed, let's say it. So like...
You said unavoidable or avoidable? I didn't hear.
Unavoidable.
Unavoidable, okay.
Yes, we need to go through this phase. But then at a certain point, there comes a moment when you realize that it stopped working. So it doesn't happen to everyone. When it happens at different moments of life, different moments. Sometimes it may happen when you achieved all the goals and you realize, okay, now what now? There's no meaning in all these achieving goals, and to someone it happens at different points of life. But then something awakens in you when you become more aware that the world around you is actually alive and it is saying something to you and you are part of it. So basically, these are the different level, we can call it different level of consciousness. So at the lowest level, when we just follow our automatisms, it's like I'm dead and the world is dead too. So everything is inanimate because it's just everything predetermined. I can't do anything. The world is like it is. Life is what it is. Nothing can be done. Then we get into the position that, okay, the world is dead, I'm alive, I can impose my will on the world. So I start exercising this muscle. And then you get to the point when you realize, okay, I'm alive and the world is alive too. And then you need to start unlearning all this imposing of your free will on the world that actually has its own free will too. So now at this point we can change the word free will into the agency if we want. But then, and this is coming from all these esoterics, magical teachings that I have been consuming for the last 10 years, since human design that taught me that there is no free will led me to the school that was teaching that when we need to train free will. So there is this, what some of the esoterics call the true will, which is really like the intention, the desire that gets born not out of the intellectual mind that feels separated from the world, but from some part of you that is in resonance with the world that is around you. And I believe that in this case, your will, this true will of yours, is always in resonance with the will of the world. So, and this is where we get into this point of the co-creation and this agency, that I have agency, the other subjects also have agencies. And so we somehow start
dance.
Yeah,
A dance.
co-creating together. But I feel that I still have the emotional attachment to the idea of the free will, because like after being impregnated with all these esoterical teachings, I realized, being honest with myself, first of all, I do have this syndrome of God, that I want to feel that I'm able to create freely my own reality. I'm not there yet. I haven't learned how to do that. I don't know if it's possible at all. But I would like to have this ability.
I wonder actually how old this debate is about free will, because I would assume that it's not very old. It's more like, like a modernity, or maybe like whatever, 300 years or 200 years, because before that, the history, I don't think humans had an illusion that they had free will, because they not only recognized but lived it as a thread of their whole lives, that they're so interconnected. Well, especially people before the industrial society, right? The measuring by the moons, shamanism and things like that. It had been about how do we keep this or stay in this web of life so that it keeps sustaining us. But for that, we also need to know our place in sustaining it. And there is Yeah, I'll stay here. So
I was actually
yeah.
thinking the same thing. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead. Please finish.
Yeah. And so, Ir, the way that you were describing different levels of consciousness, I think those ways of, or I'm dead and the world is dead, and then the second I'm alive, but the world is dead. I think they're very young. I mean, it's like, we're talking about a very recent creation of modernity.
That's what I was literally also feeling. I was like, wait, I think that the reason why we're talking about this topic the way we're talking about it is because, and I don't know if this is true, but I think free will came from a monotheistic culture. Like when we went from many gods to one god and then religion was indoctrinated, I think that's when this question, this even inflection point of us versus the world, like became a thing, which is maybe why this is just a hunch, which is maybe why there's such I feel a disconnection from this word, this even concept. I feel a lot of resistance. I feel like it's not true.
I would agree. Like it has this like engineered industrial feel somehow.
Yeah.
Okay. But still, like, let me remind you that we have all these discussions in order to have a certain position regarding the question whether we are making decisions or not, because what I want to follow this conversation is the conversation about how do we say no to things and is it necessary to say no to things. So I still feel that even in all this interconnectedness, the agency that we manifest gives us the possibility, at least, like, going back to this question of the marriage, like, we took the decision of making this project a year ago. I like this concept that not many people, but some people are applying to the to relationships. I mean, like the marriage, that every day you decide whether you stay with this person or not.
Which is not really exhausting. It would have not been possible to stay with someone more than a week.
I do agree that the total mindfulness requires a lot of energy. That's why it's not necessary. But this is what the awareness of is about. This actually that is about the realization that I'm not just following some predetermined paths, that when I'm taking the actions, it's my action. I have the responsibility that I'm taking it. It's not something that happened to me. But I have the agency.
No, because in order to build anything that's long term and requires more than you, actually requires a certain control of variables, which means that if you've married someone and you're building a life with them, you have to take that decision and that whole concept off the table in order to continue building this thing that you have committed to building. If you were to live life fully free, like in terms of like flow, what's actually here now, I don't even know how much would be buildable per se, unless there's a bunch of other people that are on the same journey and some of them feel like continuing to build this house that we will all occupy that day. The reason why we have to automate some decisions, like meaning and take them out of our consciousness, is because of the building aspect.
Exactly. Because if we go to the concept of neuroplasticity, for example, that window of neuroplasticity in the adult age, it has to be like you have to apply really conscious effort for that window to be activated.
Open.
Otherwise,
Yeah.
open. Exactly. And the reason behind that is that, when you reach a certain stage or you reach a certain age, there is some mission that you are there to do, because we live in a society, we live in an interconnected world, and so you actually are not supposed to be changing your opinion right and left and to be like flowing. You are supposed to be building and supporting some things. Exactly. Yeah.
You are supposed to, but this is not the life in flow that we are learning to live in.
Well, but we're also not living in a wandering culture. Like, the wanderers of the world, I think, are way more in the flow of life because they don't have to build, right? They just maybe they temporarily built out their caravan.
Yeah.
But then they just back up and go and travel the world based on whatever the pool is and their internal needs. But when you're born into the type of society we're born into,
but we also talked about divergence and convergence, right? Which is a stage. You diverge and then you converge. So, there are cycles for everything. There's also this concept that, you may, let's say you do have a soul as something that you need to learn about your place in the web of life. And yet, it lives in different times and different ages and different circumstances and different cultures and different societies. So how and what you do is actually, how you orient yourself in that interconnectedness, going back to the agency, right? So there is a way to flow in that as well. It's like, you have this like design that this is what you're uniquely suited to do, yet how you arrive there and what it looks like, this is not, predetermined. So it is.
So
And actually
we're
you
still
flow
making
if
decisions.
You flow if you synchronize with that rhythm of that, let's say, design or soul. And then this is what flow is. You synchronizing with the grand scheme of your life, which is not, which actually doesn't feel like it is tying you and it is forcing you, but it feels like it is opening you up and it is bringing out, things that make you feel ecstatic in the world.
I agree and disagree with it, because it does feel like liberation when you allow yourself to go, and flow with it. But before you need to make this leap of faith and leave your previous patterns where you have learned that I can impose my will on the world, on my life, and everything depends on me. So to release the control, it requires an effort, the initial release of the control. And I think it requires a decision. Well, not always, because sometimes when you resist the releasing the control for too long, the life may take the decision for you, and then you end up in the hospital and you can't do anything about it. But I remember, for example, from my experience, going with the flow of human design, it was very exciting. It did feel liberating, but at the same time, it did require effort. It was my decision to try to follow this pattern instead of the patterns that I was used to.
I wasn't saying that it doesn't like require effort, because in the flow, right? Flow is not about just, just ecstatic being carried by the wave, because, life and flow actually means that there are things that don't feel easy at all, actually. And maybe it's even, like they feel harder than when you are just going with the flow of life and society as it is right now. That is probably easier.
But my question is, because the ultimate question that I want us to have an answer for is, are we making decisions or are we not making decisions? And
But
for me,
are we not past linear answers?
I am okay with the answer we are and we're not.
Okay. Cool.
I'm okay with that. Because in the answer we are making and decisions, and at the same time we're not making them, there is still part when we are making decisions, this part of the agency. Because like if we're not making decisions at all, the following question about the convergence doesn't make any sense, because like nothing depends on us.
I think the problem is not decision. I think the problem is we. That I make decisions. What is I in that equation?
Okay.
What are we referring to? It's like it could be a million different things that are actually that I that is making the decision. But the way we're approaching this question is from a monotheistic type of framework, which is why there's a problem with it.
Okay.
I mean, this is how it's coming together for me right now.
It's a good point, and it's a good bridge for continuation of the conversation. Okay. So now we're not talking about are we making decisions or not. Now we need to discuss who within us is making decisions. I like it.
And it might not even be who within us. Like there could be my future self is coming through really strongly in this specific moment in time and is providing the inputs required for this system to be like, oh yeah, we're going to do this now. So who's the I?
And then there are different morphic fields, right? There are different morphic fields that some come from your family, some come from, this, and some come from that, and they're actively evolving.
Mycelium layer.
Yeah. I'm not arguing about all the interconnected web we're part of, and that influences at every moment, that everything that will emerge in me, around me, and in the whole system. I'm trying to clarify for our common understanding.
I think you're doing a good job.
What is the agency?
Thank you.
Ira, you're doing we're not resisting you. There is resistance in the field. That's true. Let's just name it. There is I feel some resistance coming up. I don't know about the two of you, but the resistance is for me not about what you're saying. It's about I'm feeling the resistance come up in relation to some of the ways these things are framed or phrased. And you know what I mean? And I'm picking up on wait, where's this incoherence coming from? Why am I having this resistance to this, to even the question of, are we making this? Do you know what I mean? So it's not resistance to you at all. If anything, you've really helped us. I feel like you've helped us get to this new, I have never consciously asked the question, who's the we that's making the decision? This is a new crystallized clarity for me that I think was there already in my field, but I didn't clearly, put the stake in it until now.
No, I also think that it is very, very good question. I like it a lot. Who's making our decisions? my decisions, okay, but like
Who in
it
me or
will.
out? Outside
Well,
of me is
it has
making those
been voiced
decisions.
out. Not necessarily. It's not necessarily in me. Like it might be
What is making
something.
decisions? Yeah.
Ooh, what? Yeah. Okay. Um. Well, we need to wrap up. I'm pronouncing this word correctly, right?
Yay, you did it. Yeah.
I want to ask you last question as a matter of conclusion. Because like I think I might intuit the answer that Yulia might give. I'm not sure about Polina because she gave me sort of like the contradictory vibes regarding that.
Okay.
How do you feel about like not having free will but having the agency, or how do you feel about it?
And which you are you asking?
Which you wants to answer right now?
Well, there's one me that wants to say, fuck this, I don't like it. There's another me that says, yeah, I mean, we're just here to jive and flow and see how we can express this system in the best possible way with the variables given at each moment in time. Those are the two primary voices, but the first one is stronger. It really doesn't like it, that it doesn't get to influence everything.
Okay, I can relate to relate. Yulia, do you have any part that doesn't like not having a free will, or you are happy with all this co-creation process?
Happy always is not my state, ever. And I think the one thing that makes me excited, and it's like, okay, let me be decided on, but me collaborating with those agents, some of whom I think if we collaborate, they put me into a space where things are non-linear and where things happen that defy the time and scale of our waking world. And this opportunity of, okay, this is what it is about like traveling to places I would not have traveled to alone, or any part maybe of me wouldn't have traveled alone. But now, like, I don't know, like with the tree, with dreams, or with, I don't know, like some non-corporeal entities, we could travel together. They could take me.
Yeah, it's a very enticing
Like Carlson that
volume.
carries the Malish to
Carlson!
the roof.
Okay, yeah.
Hi,
For
Malish.
those of us that don't know, Carlson is a fictional character. He was a funny little dude. I don't know if he was a man. I don't know what age he was. But he had a propeller on his back, so he was able to fly around. And Malish is a little like a child basically, and I think he had a relationship with a child that he would like pick up and like propel around. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, basically it's a book by Astrid Lindgren and for whatever reason, it's very popular in Russia and not very known in other parts of the world. I don't know why, because it's a brilliant book. Well, to conclude, I must say that on one hand, I also find it really exciting and magical, rediscovering it every moment. There's like signs of the world as the communion of subjects, and that I am a part of it. But as I mentioned already, like I do want to have a free will. I do want to be able to exercise it and to create the whole reality just like I wanted. So I will continue exploring these possibilities and how it could be done. So thank you very much for this interesting and educative discussion. We will continue because we still need to answer the question how to make decisions between no and yes and.
Oh, but that's a different question.
It's a different question, but it's a related question.
Related, but not really. But okay.
Yes, because you started, like when we were discussing how we make decisions, you said, wait, it all depends on the framework because are we making decisions at all? So it had to be discussed.
Well, I love that we did it.
This is anyway.
Cool. Yeah.
We know that there are no linear questions. We're not looking for linear questions. We're exploring all the possibilities. The invitation to our listeners is please share what you think and feel in regards of the question of the free will. Does it exist in your world? How do you feel about it? Are you making decisions and who in you is making decisions? But we will continue talking about that.
Wait, before we wrap, can we just quickly answer one question?
Yes.
Where did each one of us feel like, where did we spend the most time today during this episode? In the mental field, in the energetic field, where can we just I just want to locate each one of us in terms of how we showed up in this episode today, if you don't mind. Is that okay?
I would think I felt rather holistic. So it's like the mind and the body and the field felt rather connected.
Cool. And you, Yul?
I did spend some time in my thinking, but then actually there was flow where things were thought of for me.
I like that. I think I was further away from my mind than I usually am, although I had to try to access it more at some points, but it was really an effort. And the rest of the time I was almost further away from all of it, my mind, my body. I was somewhere a little bit more on the outside of my system today, maybe more in the energy layer, and also in the field and with the birds. There was lots of things acting upon me today. But there was the flow is available.
So it's also a good question for our listeners too. Where did you feel while listening to this conversation? Did you feel in the body, in the energy, in your mind, in your emotional body? So please share with us your thoughts, your energy, your insights, and we will see you in the next episode of Flow.
Bye.
Thank you and bye.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening. How was it for you? We believe that the more people experience group flow together, the better off we all are, more connected, more creative, more alive. So let's expand the field.
If this episode resonated with you, help us spread the word. Share it with a friend, leave a comment, or give us a rating. We love you.
Do subscribe so you'll know when the next experiment comes out. You can also connect with us on our Life and Flow group Substack. We'd love to hear from you. Let's keep flowing together.